Hi you guys. So a couple of guys asked me to make a video on how to adjust your idling on a Weber carb. And I thought I'd make a video and I used two different carbs and just show you how I set it up. I don't have a CO machine or anything like that. It's purely by experience and you hear how the car idles. It's got to be happy. Don't have to have, you mustn't have fumes coming out the exhaust. Anyway, I'm going to use a 36 DCD 7 and I'll use a 32-36 carby. And I'll show you how I set it up and how I make it idle brilliant. And a couple of tricks in between. This is how it goes. Just remember, before you attempt to adjust your idling, make sure your spark timing is fine. Make sure you don't suck any air around the manifold, around the carb base. All of those kind of things. Make sure your shaft and your carb doesn't have any play on it. All of those things is going to have an effect on your idling. And you obviously, before you start adjusting idling, the engine needs to warm up a little bit. The carb and everything needs to be nice and warm. Just keep that in mind. I don't want to say do a compression test, but make sure all of that's fine, so you don't have leaky valves or anything, because all of that obviously affects your idling. Anyway, so this is a 36 DCD 7 carby that I've just rebuilt. I've got a 50 idle jet in there. That's going to be fitted to a 1400 Nissan 1400. That's why I've put a 50 in there. It's according to my jet chart. So what I do is I take the air screw and I turn it in all the way. Don't lock it or snap it off or anything. There you can feel it stops turning. Then I go out 2.5 turns. That's 1, 2.5 turns. That's just the starting point. Then what I do with a speed screw, I turn it till I can see it's opening the butterfly, and then I give it a lacquer turn like that. So now when it's on the vehicle, it should start and it should run. If this is all the way closed, obviously it's not going to start. So I'll give it a turn, so that I know that butterfly is open. So when I crank the motor, it will start. I'll have this on my vehicle just now. At the moment I've got a 32-36 on there, so I'll adjust the idling on the 32-36 and show you guys how I do it. So this is that 32-36, and just like on the other carby, there's the air mixture screw. I'm gonna turn it in all the way and then 2.5 turns out. Be careful not to snap it off. And the same with the speed screw. You turn it in so you know when you crank it, it's gonna run. So okay, the reason why I turn the idle screw out 2.5 turns, it's gonna give you a little reach, a little over reach idle mixture. You need that to get it started. And then you turn in the air speed screw, so if it idles high, it's fine. And I'll show you in a second. That way the engine is going to start, and then from there, if your idle jet is the right size, you're going to start turning your idle mixture screw in to give it less fuel, because you don't want a rich mixture. And then you're also going to turn your speed screw so that your idle is at whatever RPM you want, but I'll show you that in a sec. Now I'm going to screw in the air mixture screw, giving it less fuel, and you'll hear what happens. See, already it's a smooth idle. I'm going to now lower the idle speed as well. Now I'm going to turn the air screw in a little bit more and see what happens, and then you'll find a happy medium there. See if it's getting too little fuel, then you give it a little bit air, because you never want to overreach idle mixture. I'm going to do it again. Okay, I've got the DCD 7 on there. You'll see I've put a return spring on the carb, because the DCDs, they like to have a return spring, otherwise they're idling all over the show. But I'm gonna start it, and then I'll also just fiddle a bit with the air screw. I'll turn it in. I do the same with what I did on the 32 until it idles fine. So there you are. That's how I adjust the idling. The reason you don't want a rich idle mixture is when you have to idle in traffic for a long time, your car will eventually flood, because it'll be overwhelmed with all the fuel that it gets in. And also when you go on a downhill, it'll backfire every now and again, because you're going to have unburned fuel in the exhaust, which is going to eventually ignite. And it's going to use a lot of fuel unnecessarily. So that's why we adjust to get quite a nice lean mixture. Anyway, I hope this helps someone. Be safe.